Alrighty, everyone. Sorry about that. A little bit of delay there, trying to get a last-second reserve into an Alfa Romeo seat. We are live now with Division 3 of Las Vegas of Round 4. We have a few people already on the track, as like I said, we did kind of get going a little bit late here on the broadcast side. Rigraff, I believe, was on his first push lap attempt. Kind of running into a little bit of traffic here, but I believe he's the first one on a go lap here. Kagenis is actually in front of him. So yeah, Kagenis here in the Haas on his first attempt here. But as we watch Kagenis on his first push attempt here, we can go ahead and try to pull up the standings. We have Joel Guron, who should be joining the session late here, actually has accrued enough penalty points for a qualification ban. So even if he joins the session late, he will not be allowed. He will not be allowed to set a time. So he will be starting at the back of this grid today. We have quite a few absences. I am gonna try to get Mr. Snazmonkey back in the lobby. Snazmonkey had, like I mentioned last week, Snazmonkey did step down from his seat with Mercedes and has been replaced by Leo Hudson. But Snazmonkey has decided to come race with us tonight, so appreciation for him there. Rigraff setting a 33.6. So we did see yesterday in Division 1, Ryan Newton was the only person to get into the 30s. Out of everyone this weekend, we had quite a few people in the low 31s, and our pole time, I believe, for Division 2 was a 31.3, if I'm not mistaken. So we expect quite a bit of time here. My own personal guess, just kind of winging it here with excuse me. So my own personal guess would be somewhere probably, I would imagine Avira will be in the low 22s, if not the high 31s. So Avira and Joel, although Joel will not be qualifying today, that is something that we might look out for. I'm trying to get Snazmonkey back in the lobby here for us, so bear with me for one moment. I'm sure that ticking sound is just oh so pleasant for everyone. Oh, he's in his car now. Sweet, we're good. Okay, AK with the 32.6. So ramping that up. Kiwi and Garrett Elder 32.2. Kiwi with the 32.7. So before the session, we did, and Nimloth, who is a new driver with us this week. He has a goofy name in Discord, the White Genghis Khan. I'm sure there's some context to that, but this is his first race with us. He is reserving for McLaren, as both of their drivers are absent tonight, and one of their drivers has actually stepped down from his seat, so we won't have F1 Original Paulie with us anymore. Hetcher C just could not race tonight as the last second issue come up, so at the moment, I believe we have 2 open Division 3 seats for anyone watching or anyone who knows anything. But anyone looking for a seat, we will try to get those filled as quickly as we can. Seeing 16 people on the grid is definitely not that fun, but today was just a lot of absences. I think people are a little bit Vegased out. It's not the most pleasant track to drive. But I mean, we had to. Too many people were asking for it, so we definitely had to race it. I kind of wanted to race it too, just to see if we could actually have what kind of weekend we would have in CRL with Vegas. A lot of the places I've raced before this CRL season during the F1 23 lifespan has not been very good. Like generally wind up with endless amount of safety cars, less than half the grid finishing the race. So far, I think it's been a decent success in terms of just quality of racing. Obviously, their incidents are going to happen. It's just a track with nothing but really just really high speed, really hard braking zones, really low traction. So things are going to happen. Basically inevitable. But it is nice to see that it wasn't too bad. And as we see, we actually see Avira 32.5 as his banker lap. Garrett Elder with a 32.2 so far. Very nice start for him. We did see a really nice qualifying session from him last week in Spain. Big issue with that would be just when he got caught in the rain, he just did not have the pace and just quickly fell down the order on multiple occasions. Let's see. Fight for Joel, please. I don't see Joel online. Let's see if I see him now. Yes. Joel, you have an invite? Let's see. Doesn't look like we have anyone actually on a lap right now. We've kind of missed a lot of the first laps as we were kind of going through our introduction and by getting the broadcast up a little bit late. But we are getting to that point. We are about 8 minutes left in the session. So we should be getting on board, or should be able to be on board with a lot of laps here in a moment. Make sure I get Joel in the lobby. Very deep line from Sue Francis there. A lot of people on outlaps right now, about 8 people on outlaps. Sue Francis with 36 flat, well off the pace at the current moment. So looking at the mini-map, I believe we have Rigraph again towards the front here, and then maybe AK in front of him. We actually have Kagenis here on his second attempt. Purple on the mini-map, but it's not an actual purple sector time. He's about 7/10 off of an actual fastest sector 1 for Kagenis. So 44.7 again, but 7 seconds or 7/10 off of the lead lap right now. He is up on his own time by 3/10. Just looking at that delta in the top right corner. Final 2 tricky corners. The final corner leading into the start finish line doesn't really count as a corner, as you just flat and just turn the wheel a little bit. Let's see. He was up nearly 3/10 going into the third sector. How much does he improve? Just under 2/10, so he must have lost a little bit of time in those final 2 corners. I believe Chonk just completed a lap right behind him with a 33.5. I believe we have a Mercedes. I believe, excuse me, not a Mercedes, an Alpine. We have AK here going down the back straight. I just missed that delta time, but AK with a 44.1, so he is just behind pole by about the fastest sector 1 made by Avira by about 0.5. A little bit quicker than Avira's sector 2 on this 32.5 lap, so he may be improving. Depending on how he did those 2 corners, he may actually be close to provisional pole here. And there it is, 32 flat for AK. That is our provisional pole now, as we have Garrett coming around on his outlap for his second attempt, who was the previous pole sitter. With Avira in the first sector. Ooh, tap the wall. Maybe a moment where he decides to back out. Let's take a look. He still holds the fastest first sector with a 44 flat. Kind of a big snap for Avira there, going through those 2 corners. As he crosses the line, he's about 0.5 over his initial sector 1, so definitely not a sector 1 that he would prefer to have. And just blows the braking zone. That'll be the end of that lap attempt for Avira. Garrett Elder just finishing up his first sector behind Avira here. 2.7 tenths up just in the first sector for Garrett Elder. So he may be the first person to push into the 31s here, depending on how he does the rest of this lap. We have his Red Bull teammate man in the box just starting a lap now, 2. I believe we may have Nimlaw starting a lap in front of him. Garrett Elder setting a purple sector 2 with a 25.9. Beating the previous sector 2 best by about a tenth. So unless that last corner was really bad, he should be on pole. Garrett Elder, just outside the 31s. 2.5 tenth improvement. Less than half a tenth ahead of AK. We still have another time. We still have time for one more push lap. We have a lot of people going right now. So we have man in the box back here. I believe we may have Stars going to the pits. OG going into the back straight. Whew. Maybe a little bit of a commentator curse there. Hopping on board with him, getting a lot of wheel spin. Let's see where he's at as he crosses this Sector 3 line. Leo Hudson just crossed the line, improving his time up to P4, 32.6 for Leo Hudson. And OG, not much of an improvement for him so far. We'll see his time and the man in the box's time behind him. Looks like OG is coming into the pits with that positioning there. Looks like man in the box may be doing the same. So no improvement for OG or man in the box. We have a 3-4 Mercedes right now. We have Nimloth coming in to finish his second go lap. So 33.5 to a 33.1 for Nimloth puts him up to P9. And then for our final push attempts, it looks like we have Snoop Francis, who is out extremely early for his final go. We are at 2 minutes and 50 seconds left in this qualifying session. Snoop Francis currently at the back of the grid, not counting our qualified man, Joel Guron, in the Alfa Romeo. Snoop Francis 1.7 seconds off the next driver, so a lot of time to gain, but blowing these corners on the outlap, it's definitely not promising. And as you see on the minimap, a lot of people coming out of the pits now. Under 2 minutes and 20 seconds left in this session. Roldy has decided to retire, decided not to spend any more tires, and has decided he is not going to improve as he retires from the pit lane. Okay, so Snoop Francis will be the first person on their final push attempt. We'll be right on board with him. Very wide on that turn 1 exit. Solid traction, big lift, very wide through turn 2. A lot of understeer through that corner, very wide on exit as well. Snoop's going to run into all of this traffic. Look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 cars in front of him in a line, all on their outlap. Snoop Francis kind of blowing every apex imaginable on this lap. But even with that said, as he goes over the line, he is a half a second up on his previous best of a 36 flat. So he still needs about a second and a half to be able to pass somebody. Oh. As Snoop Francis crosses that, he is still 7 tenths on his lap, so that'll put him about a 35.3. Oh. Yeah, Snoop is going to improve. He's still probably in the green, but it's not going to be much of an improvement as he'll still probably remain P16. Going to be up here towards the front. We have AK just started his first push, or his final push attempt. We have Avira on his final push attempt, but I think at the front we actually have Kagenis. Kagenis, who actually spun in the first sector, so that is the finish of his qualifying session. Chonk at the front of this train. Ooh, runs right into the wall as soon as we switch to him. They cross over the Sector 1 line. About even with his first sector, even with his fastest first sector, even though he hit that wall. Looking very slidey and just blows the braking zone. Unlikely to be an improvement for Chonk here after that. Behind him, I think we have... looks like Avira? Oh no, Leo Hudson went out really late, so he's not gonna... he just session ended before he was able to get around. Looks like Avira is stuck behind somebody. Looks like a Williams. This might be Stars. Stars blowing that braking zone. Now him and Avira run into each other. So a little bit of traffic shenanigans there. So Avira currently sitting in P3, 5/10 off of the current pole time. AK with a 31.797. That blows Garrett's lap away by for just a little over 2/10. Garrett electing not to go out for a final stint. Must be just determined to save a set of tires. Then we have OG coming in to finish his lap. Oh, we have the other Ferrari of Pratty who finishes his lap with a 34.2, so no improvement for him. OG up to P3 with a 32.3, electing for the Magnuson Q kind of tow strategy. Pratty leaving the session. And Kagenis, max battery. That's bizarre. So that is it for our qualifying session. Looks like Pratty and an Alfa Romeo are running into each other here while they're being controlled by the AI. Very bizarre. Let's see if we can't get Pratty back in the session. Okay. So we're just waiting on Stars to retire as he sits in the pit. We still have about 30 seconds. There he goes. And that is it. AK is our pole sitter with a 31.797. So outpacing what I expected pole to be by about a 10th or so. Garrett Alder in P2 with a 32 flat. Avira kind of running into some traffic there on his final push attempt, so unable to improve. But OG and Rigraff, P3 and P4. Both Mercedes starting right next to each other in P5 and 6. Kiwi in P7, man in the box in P8. New reserve Nimloth in P9 with a 33.1. Oopsie. And then Joel with a qualifying ban. So there is our running order for this race. And now we just wait a little bit for everyone to swap their setups. And again, for anyone who is new, we are a no park for a league at the moment. So everyone is free to adjust their setups in between sessions as much as they'd like, and in the middle of sessions, except for the race, since you can only mess with your front wing, obviously, and your differential. But according to telemetry, no rain forecast at all, not even a single cloud. It was a little cloudy in qualifying, even though you couldn't see it because it's nighttime. But completely sunny, completely clear for our race. So just a little bit of a wait here. People adjusting their setups. Took a little bit for the last two divisions here. This track is interesting. A lot of people making really, really low wings work. A lot of people trying a little bit higher. But it seems that DRS. Well, here we go. Lights are out and away we go. Right on board here with Garrett Elder, AK with a little bit of wheel spin on that start. Garrett Elder going up the inside. AK leaving him a lot of room at both the corner apex and quarter inch or exit. Avira looking to be really aggressive on Rigraff here. Let's take a look at the tires that we have here. So 4 people in the top 5 on soft tires as Rigraff actually gets passed by Avira on those hard tires. Or excuse me, Rigraff is on those hard tires. Oh, looks like AK may have gone into the wall. Not sure about damage. Oh, whew, really slow right in front of Leo Hudson. Again, Leo runs into him again. So AK going from pole all the way to the back of the grid, along with man in the box, who must have been caught up in something as he's well behind the rest of the field. So Garrett Elder leads the race on these softs with OG in P2 again. We saw last week OG leading most of the race at Spain, and then inheriting the race win after being overtaken in the last lap because of a Joel Goron penalty. But Avira looking really aggressive on these softs. We have another incident back here. Quite a few cars slowed back here. Looks like man in the box, clearing it. Oh, it looks like Snaz Monkey may have had a bit of an incident going into the wall. But Avira now in P2, those softs doing a lot of work for him. But Garrett Elder has a pretty solid lead going into the end of this first lap. So the big thing is we've already seen Rigraff already losing quite a bit of time on these hards. Joel Guron all the way up to P9 already after starting at the back of the grid. Looking for maybe a move on Chonk here. Chonk going really deep. Joel with a little bit of a switcheroo. Having to back out. I think he just knew that there was not going to be any space for him on the corner exit there. AK having to pit to new softs. Looks like he must have had wing damage after a little punt battle he had with Leo. Back up towards the front. The aforementioned Leo Hudson right behind Rigraff on these soft tires. The hard's definitely not working out for Rigraff towards the start of this race. Already a 2.4 second gap between him and OG. It'll still be a challenge even for OG to just maintain that gap with Garrett and Avira. Possibly 2 fastest drivers on the grid for this race at the front on the fastest tires. We will see. This is the final lap without DRS. As we mentioned, Leo Hudson trying to make some moves stick around Rigraff. But it looks like Rigraff is trying to use a lot of battery here to defend. Now Leo Hudson making that move stick before they go into the corner. Little battle here between Snoop Francis, Roldy, and Pratty in the back here. Avira setting the fastest lap with a 35.6. Really close to Garrett at the front of the grid right now. DRS is now enabled. So the top 3, it's going to be if OG can hold on to this gap on these medium tires, stick with these 2 guys, and have the advantage at the end of the race, or he won't because this DRS advantage is going to be so strong for the 2 in the front. So let's see if he can hang it. If he can hold on for maybe 3 laps, he should have better tires than both of the people in front of him. And we see Joel Guron still in P10. He's decided to start on those hards, so his charge up the field is not going to be as successful as it may have otherwise been. One thing to note of this track is, just with the information we have, and just from our own testing, it's very clear that any strategy can really work on this track. Tire wear is not super high for a lap that is as long as this one. So you can make the softs work for quite a decent amount of time, and the mediums and the hards will go for about the same amount of time. But Avira with that first DRS on this back straight does get that move done, but OG is still there. And back here behind the train of Leo Hudson, Kiwi, who does not have DRS going into this. Whew, side by side almost on corner exit there. We have another yellow flag back here. Looks like Leo Hudson into the wall. His front wing is broken. So he's going to have to pit to get that fixed. Rigraff, these hard tires. He's still in a good spot, still in P4, still just outside of the podium places in P4. It's just he's fallen so far behind, and Leo Hudson has sped in the pits to add insult to injury. And it looks like they're going to replace his wing for him, so he's got that. Swapping over to the medium tires. OG just barely in, just actually now outside. It looks like OG's finally losing the train in front of him. Let me see about my telemetry here. See how much battery he has. Oh, he's just inside it, back into 810, so he's going to have DRS. Ooh, at least right now, he's going to have to use a lot of battery, so the DRS detection zone is 2 corners away from here. May see Garrett, who has decided to underfuel, so he already has his fuel light flashing. OG does have will have DRS for this back straight, so he is still in it. Back here in P11, really small delta between him and between Kaginis and Snoop Francis. As Snoop Francis goes into this DRS zone, he has Kaginis has a lot of battery. Pratty behind them. Should be an easy overtake for Kaginis with the DRS. Pratty will have an opportunity to get something done as well. Going past New Francis into this braking zone. Very narrow on the entry. Goes over that curb and concedes the position back to Snoop Francis. Noji does not have DRS for this DRS zone. This could prove disastrous for him. Not necessarily disastrous, but it may be the beginning of him not being able to stick with these leaders. Back here we have Stars and Nimloth. Nimloth still holding position through this first DRS zone. Behind him we have Joel, very close to Chonk now on these hard tires. So Joel playing the long game by electing to go with these hard tires. He's really not that far away from where Rigraff is. If we go swap this over to leader interval, Stars with a 3-second penalty really quick on this track. That's very surprising. So Joel is only about 4 seconds behind Rigraff. Starting from the back of the field, but that does mean he's even further behind the leaders. And one bit of a surprise from last night is that Division 1 did not have a single safety car. We had one VSC towards the second half of the race, or excuse me, in the second half of the race, but 0 safety cars. And so far, we have had nothing but a yellow flag in this Division 3 attempt at Vegas. Kiwi actually overtaking Rigraff for that P4 spot. But again, he's going to be at the lead. Oh, Rigraff went deep, so I think Rigraff just went off that lag. What was that? Rigraff went a little deep in that corner. Did lose a lot of time to Kiwi. Over a second behind now. And now Nimloth has an opportunity to overtake him going into the start-finish straight. He does get that move done. Rigraff actually sending it back on him. So we have a bit of a battle here for P5. Ooh, Rigraff with a big snap of oversteer. Where does that put him in relative to Nimloth? Nimloth actually going to get that position back. But now Rigraff has DRS and Nimloth doesn't because of this action. So Rigraff dumping that battery. Wants that position back. Probably not happy with how that played out. Just a couple of mistakes from him. Nimloth a little bit more confident in the braking zone, it looks like. They're still side by side going through this first sector. Rigraff having to concede with Nimloth having the inside line, but Nimloth with a big snap of oversteer. Rigraff looking for a move, but Nimloth getting control of that car. But look at this time. Kiwi just run away from them. 3-second gap between Kiwi and Nimloth now. Rigraff had a big gap between the rest of the field, but he lost it all. So we see Nimloth battery flashing, or his battery light is flashing, so he is around 10%. This should be an easy overtake for Rigraff here. Back up towards the front, looks like we have a little bit of a DRS overtake swap between Avira and Garrett, but we already see OG already falling back to 2 seconds behind Garrett Elder. Rigraff, like I said, getting that move done very easily. But a lot of stuff happening behind. We have Joel all the way up in P6 now, already actually overtaking Nimloth behind Rigraff. So now he is in P6, but a lot of work to do to catch back up with Kiwi, excuse me. But we do kind of see the power of DRS at this track. Kiwi was about 3 seconds in the lead. And he's now only 2.5 seconds in front of Rigraff. It's potentially that Ooh, Snoop Francis caught up in an incident, I think, back here. Snoop Francis backwards on the track. Lost his entire front wing. Still no VSC or safety car. The Kiwi still holding a 2.5 second, 2.6. Snoop Francis speeding into the pits with no front wing. So far, Joel is doing a good job, or excuse me, Kiwi's doing a good job of holding off Joel. Joel's actually the gap is actually growing between Kiwi and Joel. And Joel will likely be overtaken on this following DRS straight on the second half of this lap. Another yellow flag back here. I think we have Roldy, who may have spun here. Bit of a drift there, going through that corner. Now, the big thing for these leaders is how far will they take these soft tires? Garrett was telling me during the week that he's probably going to go about 12 laps, so maybe only halfway through his stint at the current moment. And as I mentioned before, Rigraff overtaking Joel with that ridiculously long DRS straight. Snoop Francis with a 10-second time penalty, just cutting a corner somewhere. Looks like Snoop Francis just tired of the track, just decided to cut that chicane in the first sector. Gave himself 10 seconds of penalties, and now he is at, I believe, 15 seconds. Looking at this for OG. OG has decided to save his battery, deploy that later on, as he knows he's in a very comfortable position with a large gap between him and P4. Rigraff closing that gap a little bit towards Kiwi. Another yellow flag. I'm not sure if that's AK that's stopped on track back here. Looks like he's actually going into the pits. And it looks like he has an end plate missing on his wing. Looks like he'll still be in front of the leaders when he comes out of the pit, so he won't be lapped, but he is further and further back. I think this is his second pit stop now. And second wing change. Back towards the front, looks like we have a little bit of lift and coasting from Garrett. He may be having to worry about... He clearly underfueled to some degree, and his fuel light is still on. Looks like he is under by about 0.3 of a lap. Fuel use here is quite low, as everyone is running not a lot of aero, and DRS trains can help preserve a lot of fuel also. But back here in the battle for P5, it's like Joel had a nice run on Rigraff going into the start-finish straight, and is going to get that move done going into turn 1. A little bit of tapping there between him and Rigraff. But Kiwi actually growing that gap to the rest of the field. Was around 2.4, now over 3 seconds. Something happened with Avira. He had some kind of moment. We hopped on him and he was a little bit slow. Now Garrett is in front of him by 2 seconds, and OG is now right behind Avira. He will have DRS when they get to this DRS detection zone. 2 corners from now. Looks like Avira is actually catching Garrett, dumping a lot of battery. Actually, not dumping a lot of battery. Garrett dumped a little bit of battery. I'm curious if Garrett lifted to kind of get them into DRS so he can save fuel. But OG is back in the fight on the medium tires, so this race is not... So he is still in contention for this race win. Back here, just a kind of a battle over and over between Joel and Rigraff. Chonk is really close to both of them, but so far the positions have only really been swapped. Oh, as I say that, oh no! Rigraff has a bit of a moment. Chonk tries to go for an overtake and spins right into the wall, so he's going to pit here. It looks like Nimloth everyone having to go around Chonk, because Chonk's trying to go into the pits while people are racing behind him. Luckily, no one crashed into each other, but Chonk having to pit early, having to replace his wing. after putting himself into the wall. But again, OG is back in the lead fight here. But Kiwi is over 7 seconds behind them. Joel has dropped that gap to Kiwi, which was about 3 seconds on a 2.4. Back towards the back, Chonk is going to come out in about P. Coming out, he'll look like he'll be P13, P14. Leo Hudson, who has pit, but is likely not going to be able to go to the end on these mediums. I'm sure a lot of people are hoping for a safety car. But back up towards the front, Avira may be struggling on these old saws, because Garrett is actually going to run away and not going to have anyone behind him with DRS. That means OG is going to be less than half a second behind Avira with DRS. He's going to make this overtake and put himself into P2. Oh, we have Nimloth into the wall. Is that a safety car? Did OG get in front? I think OG was not in front. Let's see who will have the position. Looks like Nimloth went into the wall before this back straight and crashed out. Yeah, his car's already disappeared, so we can't really see what happened. But let's see. We have... I would imagine that everyone will be pitting here. OG may be going to hards, while Avira... And it's hard to say. I mean, everyone's going to pit. So there is that safety car that a lot of people are probably hoping for. But OG getting ahead of Avira right before the safety car comes out. So let's see. OG will undoubtedly be on the hards. Garrett going onto the mediums. Avira going onto the mediums. Definitely the right call. But again, I mean... It's kind of unfortunate for OG. He did get himself back in a position to fight for the race win on the harder tires. But then a safety car comes out to put him back into a tire disadvantage. So it's going to be tricky for him to stick with these guys again in the same kind of situation, because he will likely not be able to catch back up when the tires start to cross over, or when the tire advantage starts to cross over. Tire advantage, tire delta, whatever the word is. We have a lot of people on mediums. That's the other thing that OG's going to have to worry about. We have Joel, who is in the top 5 now. Kiwi is on fresh mediums. These guys are showing some solid pace in this race. So OG on the hards, if he can't get these things up to temp and he can't show some solid pace, he may fall down the order because of the safety car. But we will have to see. A lot of people still well behind. I think we will likely see Snoop Francis and AK pit here, depending on how many tires they have left. They're kind of gonna go through here to kind of look at the tire situation for our drivers. Let me wait for telemetry. So Garrett Elder has a fresh set of hards and a fresh set of softs, if needed. OG, let's see. He has a fresh set of softs and a fresh set of hards. Or excuse me, and a fresh set of mediums. Set of softs and mediums for OG. So still a lot of tires to play for a lot of these drivers. Because of these kind of big gaps behind the safety car, we'll probably have at least one more go-around, if not one more after that. Nimloth leaving the session. Solid race start for him, but then goes into the wall. I will be curious to see if that was an incident with somebody else or if it was just a mistake from him. But as we follow along with OG behind the safety car, we can bring up our current standings. There may be some issues with this. It's not perfect right now. I'm a little bit behind on the spreadsheet, so bear with me for a little bit. But yeah, I should definitely be a little bit more on top of that. But currently, Joel Guron leads our championship after a big moment last week. Yeah, see, this is not even up to date. Yeah, it still says Joel won one race at Spain, which he's not. So, which he didn't. He fell out. Yeah, I think he had 2 penalties, so he fell back pretty far. So I believe Avira is actually our D3 championship leader at the moment. I'm not sure where OG, yeah, he would have gained a few points, so he would have gained a few positions. Yeah, these aren't even accurate. I'm just going to take them off the screen. They're not even close to being accurate. So we are... Looks like we're getting people caught up. So I have about 4 cars behind, not completely caught up with the safety car queue. Now, one thing that's interesting is between OG and fresh set of mediums, team telemetry is already telling me that he's about almost half a second slower than fresh mediums. We hover on with Garrett, who does have a fresh set of hards. Team telemetry, when it decides to update, whoopsie, wrong button. When team telemetry decides to update, we're still showing. Oh, now we're on with Garrett. Here we go. Yep. Definitely could use a little more OPS practice. I like to hit all the wrong numbers. Garrett Elder. Okay, so Garrett Elder, compared to fresh hards, he is about 4/10 quicker with his current set of tires. So the gap. This will definitely be a challenge for OG to maintain his position. And again, we will have to do 2 full racing laps before we get DRS back. So that'll be a big opportunity for a lot of people on these mediums to overtake OG, who is having to finish the race on these hards. You know, considering with Major Castman in our chat right now confirming with me that you want to go about 12 laps, or you can go about 12 laps on the softs. Looking with where our safety car is now, we are about 13 laps, or excuse me, yeah, 13 laps from the end of this race. So it could actually have been a realistic strategy for someone to go hards and stretch them all the way to, or not hards, excuse me, softs and stretch them to the end. Obviously, there'd be a big disadvantage at the end of the race, but it would put you in a really nice spot for the beginning of this. And we did see at the start of this race that the people with the softer tires were able to run away from the rest of the field. But unfortunately, nobody elected to do that. A little bit of a surprise from AK not pitting, but I would imagine that he may have already used all of his usable tires at this point, since he has pit twice. He's on his 3rd set of tires now. He did start on softs, did some laps on mediums, and then broke his front and had to pit again. Yeah, well, actually, no. According to telemetry, he does have a fresh set of mediums, so I'm surprised he hasn't pit, because the safety car will no doubt go in this lap. So, electing to stay out on the older hards, so he'll be somewhat of at a disadvantage. But he did qualify on pole by about over 2 seconds to the second quickest car of Garrett Elder. So he may have the pace to overcome that tire wear difference. Okay, we should get the announcement here that the safety car is going in momentarily. We did have an interesting bug in D2 on Saturday, where right down the straight towards the start-finish line, it announced that the safety car was coming in, and then made us do a whole nother lap behind the safety car. So that was interesting. But I mean, it went in and it worked, so I guess we'll take that. It could have gone a lot worse, but here we have the message for the safety car to come in. So as we see the safety car gapping the rest of the field as it goes towards the pit lane. So Garrett Elder will be our safety car restarter here. Looks like little shenanigans happened between Snaz Monkey and Snoop in the back, but it looks like they reordered themselves. Looks like Garrett's actually going now. Very, very early to go, I would imagine. Or, I mean, in my opinion, excuse me. But so far, has a little bit of a jump. I mean, nobody has any kind of momentum on him at the moment. It's like Leo Hudson making a move on Pratty going into turn 1. Mediums versus hards there. VRLS about 2/10 behind OG. So remember, OG on these hard tires is going to have to fight like hell to maintain the gap with these medium runners for now. Tire delta is still about 4/10 between OG and the rest of these medium runners. But we are in Division 3, so these deltas may not be as accurate, or the deltas are likely accurate, but the potential of the drivers to pull these deltas may not be as high. But Garrett Elder, as we see, Garrett Elder already 7/10 up on OG, but OG kind of closing that up a little bit with a little bit of battery usage. We see Stars kind of getting a little bit close to being gapped by Rigraph. OG having to burn batteries to keep Avira behind him. I'm imagining Avira is trying to get past him. No, Avira is saving his battery. Now he's on the battery. Looks like we have Joel, who's just desperate to get into that lead fight. He knows that if he doesn't catch up with him, there's a possibility that they run away like they did before. Looks like OG's going to make a move on Kiwi here. Gets that move done cleanly. Up into P4 for Joel. Now that puts him in the battle for a podium. Looks like Snazmonkey had a bit of an incident back, or a bit of a moment towards the back, as he is well behind the rest of the field. Bit of a gap forming between Stars and Chonk now. Chonk kind of struggling to maintain that gap up with Rigraph, and Avira actually overtaking OG on this first DRS straight. So now again, how long will OG be able to hold everyone behind him on these harder tires? Goes back to actually have man in the box really close to Kagenis here on the hard tires versus the medium tires. No moves being done. Kagenis on the better tires compared to Chonk, so I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to swap positions here. OG under a little bit of pressure here from Joel. Joel, we already seen a lot of aggressive overtakes from Joel this race. A yellow flag. We have an incident in the back. Looks like Snoop Francis missing his entire front wing. Roldy back here missing part of his front wing potentially. It's hard to see because it's black. Nope, we can see it. And then Snazmonkey, who was just in the back on his own. So Snoop Francis, no front wing. He'll have to pit. It's like Pratty's front wing is intact also, so I'm not sure who else was caught in that incident. But again, we have Chonk who's losing the cars in front. Surprised they haven't done anything to swap there. OG being overtaken by Joel before turn 1. Now that we have DRS, so now OG will have a better opportunity to kind of stick with these medium runners. But again, we saw earlier, it's just so hard, man. And Chonk still in front of his teammate here on the harder tire. And that gap just growing and growing between him and Stars. Stars just kind of ripping it right now. So we have man in the box overtaking Kagenis back there. So maybe a bit of a moment where we may have wanted to see some team owners for Haas, because Kagenis just stuck behind his slower teammate. Man in the box getting that move done, but the battle is not over. And unfortunately for OG, look at that gap. It's already, he's having to dump so much battery just to stick with these guys. Tire advantage is just so much to overcome when you're the only one on these tires. But he will have DRS for this lap. More yellow flags back there. I believe we have AK around again. That's a, what is that, a VSC? So a VSC with OG close enough, and yeah, AK has no front wing. So he's going to have to pit again. But he does have those fresh set of mediums still in reserve. So now OG will have a chance to regain a little bit of battery. Do a little lift and coasting, a little brake dragging. Maybe get a little battery, but he's still hanging in there. Rigraph is in it now also. So we have a train all the way down to P8 at the moment. We will see what these deltas look like once the VSC ends. So it looks like the only person who's deciding to pit is going to be AK, as I would imagine, since he has no front wing. We are now on lap 17 of 25. Now we did see a few people try to pit during a VSC last night. Ooh, drive through for Kagenis. Unfortunate for him. AK has retired in the pits. He is done for today. Kagenis with the drive-through penalties. Take a look. It looks like we are AK's car is driving out onto the track. So we actually have 3 drive-throughs. Stars, Chonk, and Kagenis all have drive-throughs. So that clears the way for man in the box, Hudsey, Snoop, and Pratty, and Roldy to clear them. So they're gonna have to serve that at some point. But back up towards the front where the real battle is. We have a 6-way battle for podiums here. Kiwi at the back of this train with a 2.5-second gap between him and P7. But OG again just struggling to stick with these guys on these hards. These stupid hards are just not getting up to pace as quickly as he'd like. Now Rigraph's in front of OG. Oh, big battle here. Looks like Garrett Elder overtaken by Joel for P2. But now Rigraph on those medium tires. Is now in front of OG, and one more medium runner behind OG of Kiwi. So this may be beneficial for OG, as long as the people behind him are still in the train, he'll still be in it. So he can, if he gets passed again, then he can at least try to stay behind that person and just be in the train, just be in the fight, because incidents can happen. Back towards the front, Joel is doing quite well, so I think he has 15 over, or he is gone from P17 now to P2. Safety car definitely doing a lot of work for him this race. So it looks like everyone has served their drive-through penalty. I think it was between Pratty, Chonk, and Kaginis. So that does put Snoop Francis actually in the top 10 now after struggling in qualifying. Big surprise though is Garrett, who was our P2 after only 2 runs in qualifying, actually is actually under threat of OG and Rigraph, but OG actually overtaking Garrett. So Garrett has gone from P1 down to P5 since the restart of the safety car. But be careful. These guys have to be careful. Too much battling is going to mean that they're going to drop themselves out of DRS range, and that's already happened for Garrett Elder. And Garrett under threat from Kiwi also, or I'm sorry, OG under threat of Kiwi. The yellow flag back here. Snaz Monkey looks like he may have gone into the wall or spun. But Garrett Elder is now outside of the DRS of the top 3. Rigraph actually putting himself into the top 3. Big thing here is that Joel and Avira have just saved up their entire battery, while the rest of the people behind him have basically less, or have, not very much battery. So, but Garrett looks like he is going to be within that DRS of Rigraph. Going down this back straight, be really close. And OG actually looking like he may fall out of it. But he does have it here, so still a 6-horse, or a 6-horse DRS train here. More yellow flags towards the back. Look like Stars may have been in an incident. Stars with no front wing. We get another VSC. So this may be an opportunity, since the VSC came out so early, for people to put on softs, but nobody in the lead does. I'm surprised. I mean, not really surprised that OG doesn't pit, but yeah, all of these VSCs are not helping him fight against all of these medium drivers, as it just preserves these medium tires. We'll see. So far, nobody has a drive-through penalty this time. Last VSC, we saw 3 drivers wind up with drive-through penalties. DRS enabled, so I guess the VSC is over. Vera with a solid jump on Joel there on the VSC, over 7/10 of a gap to Joel now. Gaps are pretty big up here between the top 6, so no one going for any moves at the current moment. We'll see. OG around 22% tire wear. Viva about 25%. So the medium runners are actually in that first big drop off. So maybe an opportunity for OG to have better tires for maybe a lap or two. Snaz Monkey with all sorts of lag right in front of the leaders here. Really close race. Looks like Roldy maybe stopped on track back here. May have gone a little deep in that corner before the back straight. But Rigraff really close to the back of Joel, and Joel really close to the back of Vera. OG really close to the back of Garrett Elder. Outside of the top 6, more yellow flags. Looks like we may have Snaz Monkey retired in the pits. So yellow flags just his car driving back out on the track. But outside of the top 6, we only have two other cars within DRS range of each other, which is Kagenis and Chonk, who did have drive-through penalties, so they've dropped quite a few positions. Now OG, on those hard tires, is at the back of this lead train. Are there enough laps for his tires to come into their own and become the faster tire? Wow, Kiwi losing a lot of time after overtaking OG, so maybe OG may have made a mistake, because Kiwi lost a second and a half to the car in front. So if OG wants to fight for a podium, he's going to have to overtake him and close a lot of space, or a lot of time, to Garrett Elder really quickly. More yellow flags leave Roldy is around again on his own. Back towards the back. We did see Stars pit again. A little bit of fighting between Rigraff and Avira here. Joel trying to make a move around the outside of Rigraff. Joel really close to Avira here. Is he trying to squeeze between? Oh no, he backs out, but where's Rigraff? Is Rigraff next side by side? Is he making a move? Really close. Joel having to give a little bit of room there. Gives a little bit of space for Avira. But no position swapped there, even though it looked like Rigraff was making a move on Joel. OG is back within DRS of these lead drivers. We're getting really close to the end of this race. Looking at this, we have Rigraff actually with 2 warnings and Avira with 1. So there is potential for penalty play towards the end of this race, or at the end of this race. One thing to note is that Man in the Box is actually lapping quicker than the lead car of Vera right now. His last lap he did a 37.6, whereas Vera did a 38.9. So he may be actually closing the gap a little bit towards this lead train, maybe get himself in there, but there's not many laps left. Man, these gaps get so close into that corner. So far, we haven't seen anyone in the lead train punt each other yet, which is a nice change of pace. Joel really close to Vera going towards turn 1. People get really close into these corners. People just not wanting to overtake in the wrong place. Ooh, Joel with a big snap might give Rigraff the onus to overtake him going into the DRS zone. They're going side by side through turn 2. But Joel does have a lot of battery to use with that mistake. Avira dumping a little bit of battery there to try to get a gap. He does have a gap, so it looks like he's still trying to push. He is still trying to push. Joel's going to have to push as well to kind of close that gap back up. So it's a big opportunity for Avira, but he kind of blew an apex there a little bit. So Joel right back in it with Avira. Yeah, look at that. Avira so close to breaking that toe of Joel. Using a lot of battery, but he still has DRS. Star is setting the fastest lap back in P13. Right on board with OG here for a little bit as he sees the 4 leading cars in front of him. Doesn't look like he will ever get to the point where these hard tires will be better than the mediums. 2 laps to go, guys. 2 laps to go. Credits to Kiwi for sticking with everyone. Snoop actually crashed into the wall, looks like. Crashed himself out. It's hard to see where, since he's so far back, won't have anyone to... Yeah, it looks like he crashed into the wall and crashed himself out. We're too late in the race for any kind of safety cars. You can look at the batteries here. Vera around mid-50s, Joel mid-50s, Rigraff around 10%, Garrett 30%, OG 20, and Kiwi 38. All of these drivers still in it. Actually, OG right outside DRS, so he's going to have to push really hard through the next several corners to make sure he's in that DRS. That Delta going all over the place. So OG does have DRS. I believe Kiwi does not, actually. Kiwi does not have DRS. OG does have DRS. But without the tow, everyone in front of him is just gaining so much time. And Rigraff going for the lead, I think, here. Rigraff getting in front of both Avira and Joel. And Joel actually, I think, getting in front of Avira side by side through these chicanes here. And Garrett and OG are right back in it. But look at this, Rigraff in front of all of them with 9/10 lead. And Avira under pressure from Garrett. OG behind all of them, too. Side by side between Garrett and OG here, going into turn 2. OG kind of sending it there into the DRS zone. But Joel now ahead of Avira. Rigraff leading this race going into the final lap. But Rigraff has, like, no battery. Is OG going to send it here? He backs out. Kiwi right behind all of them. So Kiwi's still in this fight. So far, extremely clean. No punting or anything. So very clean driving from our top 6 drivers. But Rigraff now leads the race going into the Sector 2 for the final time. Little to no battery. He's going to dump his battery here to try to desperately create a gap. Leo Hudson getting a 3-second penalty, but no threat of being overtaken from Chonk behind him. So here we go, guys. Into the final back straight. Kiwi actually getting in front of OG. OG having a bit of a moment there, losing a lot of time. So now we're looking back towards the front. So Rigraff in the front being overtaken by Joel. Avira actually having a moment. So now he's under threat of Garrett Elder. So now Joel is well in the lead. With Rigraff behind. Go! Garrett with an insane bomb. Just cuts the corner. I don't know what the hell that was. Just takes Avira out. So Joel wins Rigraff in second. Kiwi's going to get a podium. Garrett Elder and Avira have Garrett with an insane send. I don't know why OG just got a 20-second penalty. But Garrett Elder with the absolutely murderous send on Avira into that final corner. And for 2 races in a row, contact from behind causes Avira to fall out of the podium. But our race winner, we have Joel in P1, Rigraff in P2, and Kiwi, second podium of the season. Let's see if we can actually get him in an interview where you can hear him this time. So that'll definitely be... I'm sure the stewards who have seen that will be excited to have to, woohoo, more work for me. So that was definitely something. Let's get these guys into the waiting room. Garrett with the "I'm so sorry" in the Division 3 chat. Let's take a look. No one in the waiting room yet, but that was a very spicy last couple of laps with big moves from Rigraff. Avira getting collected again. The guy just cannot catch a break. We will pull up. We'll go through this final screen. Take a look at our podium there. Joel Guron going from the back to the front with his qualifying band today. Rigraff in that Alpine in P2, and Kiwi in the AlphaTauri, second podium of the season. Definitely big surprise. Let's get over here so we have our splits. Grab these real quick. Okay. And there is our final classification for everyone. We will go ahead and let's see who's ready to be interviewed. Let's take a look. And with their second podium of Season 10, Kiwi and the AlphaTauri finishing P3 on the last lap of Las Vegas. Kiwi, how do you feel after that?
I am simply shocked. Cube and I were playing the long game, trying to save battery throughout the whole race, and kind of paid off at the end there. Going flat out that final quarter to snatch that P3.
We saw on the broadcast, we saw Garrett in the Red Bull make a big move on Avira into that corner right after that back straight. What were you seeing on your end when that happened?
I honestly was just so focused on my braking point and not just overshooting it into the runoff that I wasn't even paying attention to what was ahead of me until it was right in front of me. So,
all right. So when in this race, so you started on the hards, correctly, or did you do softs? You did hards, okay.
Hards. Yeah.
And then that safety car kind of worked out for you, getting you back in the fight. But having those mediums as the rest of those. So what were you thinking at the back when you were at the back of that kind of 6-car train for most of that back half of the race? What were you thinking you might be able to do? Were you just trying to hold on, or maybe make a move at the end?
Yeah, I was just holding on, hoping for maybe a little incident on the last lap, see if I could just take advantage of other people's mishaps and maybe take some positions, and it worked out really well at the end.
Yeah, it did. So again, that is the second podium of Kiwi's ZRL career in the same season, so just a few weeks apart for Kiwi. So congratulations, Kiwi, on that race. And so we have the next week off for the Easter holiday, and then after that we have our only random GP of this season. I know you were here for them last season. What are your opinions on the random GP?
I think it's fun, just having a few hours, kind of knowing ahead of time what the race is, so we don't get too much practice. I think it's fun, maybe a bit chaotic, but it's a good race either way, or at the end of the day. So
yeah, hopefully we don't get something stinky. Hopefully we don't have to do Azerbaijan or something. But
oh yeah.
So we just did Vegas. So all right, well, Kiwi, congratulations on that P3 and that podium. I look forward to the rest of the season with you.
Yep, thank you.
And then in P2, after a crazy last couple of laps, we have Rigraff coming in P2. Rigraff, how do you feel after those last couple of laps?
Oh, that was talking to Joel. I was like, that's probably the most fun race I've ever been in. It was so fun.
Now, when that safety car came out, it kind of created this kind of weird moment where I think the top 6 all had mediums, with the exception of OG on the hards. I believe, I can't remember exactly where you were at the safety car restart, but it did put you back in the battle for the win, as Garrett and Avira had kind of run off on their own.
Yeah.
What were you thinking when that safety car came out, and then when that was restarting? Did you really feel like you had a really good opportunity to finish where you did?
Yeah. Honestly, it was that moment where I regained the confidence back. So I fell back to P7 after starting P4, I think, and then because I was on the hards, everybody else was on mediums, and then I feel like I didn't have the pace. I dang sure didn't have enough top speed. But when the safety car came out, it was about the same time I needed to pit, and I'd be on the mediums the rest of the race. I knew I'd have a chance. So
Yeah, you had on that second to last lap, man. You just went for it, and you got both of Vera and Joel. Were you just kind of saying, whatever, man? I'm just gonna go for it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, honestly, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna see if I have the pace to pull away if I can get in front, and almost did.
Yeah, it was close. The big thing was like we were monitoring on the broadcast was that both Joel and Vera had a ton of battery going into those last couple of laps.
Yeah, that's what if I had to redo, I would definitely, add a little top speed to the setup, but I felt like I was definitely having to deploy to catch up, but it worked out.
Yeah, it definitely did. So again, P2 for Rigraf here. So Rigraf, next week we have a week off for the Easter holiday. The week after that, we'll be coming back with our random GP. You were here with us last season. How do you feel about those?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50 on them. I think it's fun, though. It's fun to add a little randomness to it. But, yeah, I don't know. They definitely make you, I don't know, concentrate maybe more. I don't know really how to say it, but...
I know for me, they're really hard because like I don't drive with any assist, so 2 hours can be hard if it's not the right track. Like we did Singapore last season, and that sucked.
Yeah,
that sucked. But so we won't get that again. So hopefully we get something fun for 2 weeks from now. So again, Rigraf, congratulations on that P2, man, and congratulations on your second podium this season. Really nice start for you. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yep, thanks, man.
And then our race winner, Mr. Joel Guron himself. Mr. I like to punt people and pass them at Spain, but then get quali banned, but then win the race anyway because I don't care what you think, stewards. How are you feeling after that race?
I don't even know, man.
Now, I know, like...
Do I even belong here?
Hey, you do right now. Well...
The only practice I had for this track was for AC, and I don't know.
Well, it definitely worked out for you. The safety car definitely kind of swapped things quite a bit for you, put you back in the hunt for the lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
What do you, like? Because before that, I think you may have had quite a bit of struggle trying to catch up with them. That was still a really big gap to close.
I don't know if I was going to catch him.
Yeah. So I know you start on the hards. One thing we noticed all weekend was that really any strategy is possible here, but people have been finding a lot of success by rolling the softs or the mediums at the start. Were you just doing that just because you didn't really know what to expect and just kind of...
I mean, if I do softs, that means I have to fight people, and the back's kind of a little iffy. I just did hards just in case I overtake everyone in the pits and then hope for a safety car.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
But it worked out.
Yeah. All right. Well, another race W in the bag for Joel Guron. And so next week we have the week off for Easter, and the week after that we're going to have another random Grand Prix. What are your thoughts on those?
The random GPs?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun.
All right,
I don't really care. Also, shout out Major Castleman. Thank you for the setup. Appreciate it.
All right, so
everyone look at my tire wear.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations, Joel, on your victory here at Vegas. We will see you in a couple of weeks.
Full show. Peace out.
All right, everyone. That is the final race of our Las Vegas Round 4 weekend. We'll be back in 12 days for Division 2 with a random Grand Prix. So just a little recap for everyone who do not know how that works. 2 hours before race time on Saturday, we will do a random roll that excludes Monaco, Singapore, and any track that's on this current calendar. And then we'll race it. Simple as that. So we'll just kind of go with whatever we get and just deal with it. So who knows what's going to happen? It might be... I know for me, I always struggle on these because I generally need a lot of practice, but I think it's a fun idea. So we'll keep messing with that and see how that goes. So from ZRL and everyone here, I thank you guys for joining us this week, and I look forward to broadcasting again for you guys in 2 weeks. So you guys have a nice Easter, and we'll see you then.